Welcome to the LynnieMotivates podcast, formerly Wild and Free Healthy You. You were born with unlimited promise and potential, and then you got programmed. This podcast is your reminder that you can rewire those programs so you can take back the control in your own life. It's for the woman who's done the work, the books, the planners, the podcasts, the courses, the events, maybe even coaching, but still feels off, behind in life, maybe even quietly unraveling inside. If people say you're strong and have it all together, but inside sometimes you feel a little scattered or wonder, why can't I follow through anymore? What's wrong with me? You're not alone. I'm Lynnie, certified self-talk trainer, life coach, and creator of The Bold Evolution of Self-Talk. This isn't more mindset talk or a rah-rah session. It's a novel and science-based approach to rewiring your brain at the root level so real change finally sticks. We're talking neuroplasticity, baby. Because what you say when you talk to yourself, it matters. And it becomes your future. Let's upgrade those programs. Let's build from stability now. Welcome to LynnieMotivates. And this is where we move from overwhelm to stability, from programming to rewiring, and from external pressure to inner authority. And inner authority just means back to trusting yourself again. So welcome. And today we are going to discuss something that is a topic that has feelings around it, doesn't have languaging for most people. I know it didn't for me, which is why I am now teaching it. I've created basically a whole program around it, and that is stability. And stability is the ability to basically, in a nutshell, I help you to reduce the pressure. Think about a pressure cooker and it's the steam or an Instant Pot and you release it. Like today I just made potato stew. I let the steam off and it's like, and it goes down. And then, oops, my dog doesn't like those kinds of noises. Anyway, the steam goes away and then it's like, you can breathe again. And that's stability. That is finding that steadiness within. So clarity returns, so that steady forward movement returns back to your world. So it may not be the sexiest topic until you need it. What's the only thing that we can count on? People used to say death and taxes. Well, death, now people think, but that's rebirth. And so they see death as something different. And taxes, some people may not want to participate in that system. Yet change is inevitable and it's going to happen in some way, some form. People move away, people die, divorces, a new job, a new child, absolutely anything, a move, a career. There's going to be change. There could be a storm, part of your property washes away, like mine is, eroding. There's change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And so if you are looking for something outside of you to stabilize yourself, then you're going to find that whatever is stabilizing you is not stable. I'll give you the example, but before I do that, if you followed me for a while, you know that the podcast was called Wild and Free Healthy You, and I've just rebranded it to just LynnieMotivates. Everything that I do is LynnieMotivates. LynnieMotivates.com is my website, and LynnieMotivates on all social media. I'm not always very active there, but that's where everything is LynnieMotivates. So I just made this podcast, LynnieMotivates, and we'll talk about what motivates, what that word means in a moment. I called myself the common sense health expert because the common sense just was not common when I was doing this many, many years ago, health coaching. And I'm very much into the unconventional, I say unconventional, but herbalism and homeopathy and things of that nature. But I moved away from and this is kind of an interesting story, but I stopped doing that because my clients didn't do what they said they wanted to do. And it became evident that something was wrong and I didn't know what it was. Was it me? I was showing up and I knew what, they told me that they wanted and I knew how to help them to get that. And yet it wasn't happening. And I did not know until several years ago now that it was due to their programming, and it was stopping them and sabotaging them. And that was where I moved several years ago into neuroplasticity, which is rewiring the brain. I'm getting a little bit off topic already, but want you to understand the progression of why I moved from the wild and free healthy you to just LynnieMotivates. It's because it's health to me, whether it be herbals or homeopathy or fitness, health in any way, the aqua cure, which I still use today, and which is much more than hydrogen. Those things are wonderful. And we try to optimize our health. But what I realized was that health doesn't start with those things. It's not going to be herbalism or homeopathy or unconventional health protocols or any of these things that are going to get us where we need to go, because we have something that is much more important and a greater asset to us, and that is our brains. So health begins in the brain, and I'll explain. I really believe that true health on planet Earth, by the way, I'm not speaking metaphysically, I'm speaking physically on planet Earth. So I do believe that it begins with the patterns that we've wired in, the programs that we have wired in from 0 to 7 and 7 to 14, and then we become our master programmers. I believe it begins whether our internal world feels safe enough for us for clarity to return in that world. So basically, this podcast is evolving. It's still health, just a much more holistic health, working through the brain and the things that can work with the brain, that we have the ability to stop the self-doubt and stop looking for others to approve of us or give us permission. So the wild and free healthy you part of this podcast is evolving into empowering yourself with the knowledge that will bring you back into your own authority. And by authority, again, I mean trusting yourself to make the right decisions. And once you have that internal authority, you don't need anyone to affirm you or approve of you or give you permission to be. You come from a place of making a decision and then knowing that you can pivot. When you have that internal authority, you get to a place to where you no longer fear making wrong decisions. That starts fading and you start trusting yourself. So it's still about health, but from the inside out and from root cause. So from stabilization to rewiring to empowerment and feeling that internal power. Because when you stabilize, clarity returns. And when clarity returns, action becomes steady. Forward movement becomes steady. And when repetition is intentional, your brain rewires. And that changes everything. So in these episodes, what you can look forward to, we're going to be talking about destabilization, what it actually feels like, and how internal pressure narrows your brain, and it narrows your focus, and it narrows everything, constricts, why there's nothing wrong with you. And you're just programmed. There is nothing wrong with you. There never has ever been anything wrong with you. You're just programmed. Know that. How repetition wires the brain. That's going to be very exciting. How to intentionally rewire through self-talk, and how to move from overwhelm into steady internal authority, which you've kind of talked a little bit about. Everything is about the era of stability. So here's a little backstory on why I moved into stability, which may not sound so sexy, but it's so powerful and empowering because it's a skill, like being stable and that inner stability. It is such a skill that when you develop it, it's transformative and it's lasting. And you bounce back so much more quickly. Even though I know what I'm doing, I still continue to practice because this is the human experience, and we're going to experience
change. We're going to experience things that do not feel good. We're going to experience highs and lows, and we're going to experience all of it. And that's part of being fully experiencing the human experience. So I wouldn't want to miss out on that anyway. Yet it's how quickly you come back, how easily it is for you to move from feeling unstable to stable, and coming from internally not looking for something outside of you to bring you that stability. So let me explain a little bit, as I'm going to give you the backstory, that era of stability. My husband of 35 years died the end of 24. So it's now over a year. He was my stabilizer. And I knew it. I knew that I could come home and it was like, everything was fine. Like, he was my stabilizer. He played many roles in my life, but being my external stabilizer was one that I knew it, but I didn't know until he was gone how very mucho I relied on him in that role, because I could always come home no matter what, or get off a phone call, or have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, or feel badly about something, anything, and I could just talk to him, and it was instantly better. It was like, well, are you okay now, babe? I'm better. Just being around him was stabilizing for me, an external stabilizer. So when he was gone, all of a sudden, it wasn't just that I was so unstable that I had to do taxes, I had to do the investments, I had to do, because he passed in November, and so then there were the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and his celebration of life, the New Year, and all the taxes and the investments. I think I already said that, but it was like boom, boom, boom. Plus the business that he was running it, and so my daughter and myself, we were trying to figure out how to keep it all together. So it was very destabilizing, from having stability to just on your own. If you've had a spouse that has passed and you've been with them for a really long time and built a life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you had a big move, if you've had a child that has passed, no matter what it is, we can count on change in this lifetime. A career shift, losing a job, no matter what it is, that change, it will destabilize us. And so this is why this stability was so appealing to me, because this is how it started. And it started about, I think it was around my hubby's birthday time. I think it was about April of last year. And Lynette, our daughter, said, I need, like, this summer, it's going to be the summer of stability, because it just wasn't. So the backstory is, he got a blood infection. He was in the hospital and he got a blood infection, but we didn't know that. And he had just been released from the hospital, and he wanted to go to a lower elevation, because where I live, it's 8,000 feet in Colorado. So we went to Amarillo, Texas, which is not that far from us. But by the time that we got there, he was in such dire straits from the blood infection from the hospital, and that he was a mess, and we RV. So as soon as we got into our RV site, we had to call the ambulance, and he was in the hospital, and we were there for months. We were there in Amarillo, Texas. So very destabilizing. We weren't even home. The dogs, I had to be with him, and our daughter, she had to keep coming back here to take care of the business and come back. It was just, it was all over the place. So you can just feel that chaos if you've been part of that. If you have a parent that, or anyone that is losing their faculties, or you've got to be there, or they've been in the hospital, or any of that. It's just a different world. It's not the normalcy that you've experienced. And so when she said, I just want this to be the summer of stability, I grabbed onto it, and I was like, I want the era of stability. I don't ever want to feel like this again. And there was born stability for me, the era of stability. And I just started not chasing it, but going after it and finding, what does it take to find that stability? Like, what is it? How do you get there? We knew that our nervous systems were shot, because the dogs would bark, and we're just like jerk. I mean, our nervous systems were absolutely shot after all this, and it had gone on for a while. And even when we came back to Colorado and brought him back, then he literally came. We were back for, I think it was like a month, brought him back home to this house. And in 2 weeks, his heart and everything was getting better. He was diagnosed with congestive heart failure long before. But while everything was it was just getting so much better, it was a shock. He died. He died here. Really did not think that was going to happen. And so even that, all of that was just, it was so destabilizing. It was like, how do you go from your world, like an earthquake, this tectonic shift? How do you go from that to finding your footing and feeling stable again? And I was determined to find it, and I was determined not to be a victim to what was happening and figure out like how to live and be very calm and steady and happy, live my life. I've found it, but that was what precipitated all of it. This is why I moved into this space. And it's so empowering. It's so powerful, and it's very empowering. So that destabilization, that's why I got into it. And just once you understand that change, no matter, while you're here on planet Earth, you're going to experience change. And it could be tectonic, like what my daughter and myself, what we experienced, or it could be gradual and just be like you could feel this internal pressure. Because what happens when you're unsteady is you start feeling this pressure. It's what I was talking about before, was that instant pop where it goes, psh. Can you start releasing that pressure? You are moving when you are in the sympathetic, or you are in survival mode. Every single time, every step that you take, it's like you don't know, like you're surviving. You're just trying to keep it together, take the next step, see what's the most important priority right then, and deal with the one thing. And when you've got a lot of stuff coming at you, because life is full of life, lots of things are happening at the same time. And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to hold it together? Or are you going to fall apart? Or are you going to choose to stabilize and then choose to rewire your brain with the programs that you want on repetition, so that you can change into the default of what you can do versus what you can't do, and what can be done versus what can't be done. And then you have this empowerment this is why my 3 pillars are stabilize, rewire, empower. That empower is that internal authority where you are now trusting yourself. So let me just go back to LynnieMotivates. That I want to explain why it's motivates, and why before it was raw, like helping people with, motivating them to get healthy again. So motivation, external motivation, is about hype and you got this, and cheering, pressure, like, coaches, like, you can do this, get out there on the field and do this. Or, it's hype, it's pressure, it's urgency, it's get it together. It's that. It's not a bad thing, but it can be, depending on where your nervous system is, it could be all kinds of things. When you have internal motivation, and this is what I'm all about. LynnieMotivates stands for helping you to find that internal motivation within yourself, because when pressure drops, when that pressure cooker, the steam goes out, when that pressure drops, all of a sudden you can find clarity again, because you're not coming from survival. You're not from this narrow focus. You're now open, and you can start seeing options and things that are open to you. So that's what it's not about pushing you. It's about helping you get back into that internal motivation of finding that for yourself. That kind of steady and that kind of motivation that lasts. It's like going to a motivational speaker that teaches you how to do your finances or have a good relationship or something, and maybe it's a 2-day weekend or something, and you're copiously taking notes and you're so excited, like, I got this. I got my finances in order now. My relationship, I'm going to save my relationship and all of that. And then you go home to a sick dog, a spouse that's unhappy, a job demands, the refrigerator breaks, and all the food is, the ice is melting and food's going away. Just happened to my daughter the other day. And all of a sudden, all that rah-rah and excitement and all of it starts fading. And most people think, oh, what's wrong with me? I paid all that money. And now what? It's not you. That's an external motivator. And you've got programs running in your brain that aren't wired for that yet. So aren't wired for receiving that, especially if you are not stable. So see, I'm saying that stabilization, not so sexy, but it actually is. It's incredibly sexy, meaning very, very appealing. Once you understand what it is, and hopefully I'm explaining it really, really well, enough to get you excited to where you come back to this podcast for these episodes, and more you learn how to study yourself, how to find that internal stabilization, and then rewire your brain with the programs that you want. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself until you take your very last breath. And stabilization, let me go back to stabilization, your nervous system. If you're nervous, if your nervous system, like ours was like the dog barks or somebody says, hey, or hi, or something from across the way, or something drops, and you just like, your nervous system, you're just like on high alert, and you're just hyper vigilant on everything. That's not a way to live. That is you are in survival mode. And so I help you to release that. And everything that we're going to talk about is helping you to release that pressure first, then move back into that clarity, so that once you move back into the parasympathetic or into where now you've got clarity again, then you have forward motion that serves you, and you're not coming from here and hypervigilance. And when those decisions don't always serve you, when you just spout off, somebody says something and you're triggered, and you're just like, or in traffic, somebody cuts in front of you, all that road rage and all of this, those are just reflexes, and you operating on, or another person operating in survival mode. This is why this is so sexy, and why I'm not only am I teaching it, but I practice it daily. It's really, really important for me to, now that I found it, to me, it's the greatest gift that I have found. And I am so grateful for my husband, with not, would I prefer to have him here? Absolutely. But with his exit, I had to learn this, and I'm so much stronger because of it. So I'm so grateful, so grateful to him for allowing me to figure this out for myself, for you, for my daughter, for my legacy, to help people to stabilize, to rewire, and empower. Those are my 3 pillars. So that's about all I have for this one. We'll talk more about that internal pressure on upcoming episodes. I want to tell you about a course that I created. It is 6 weeks to stability and empowerment. And it has really helped. It helped me in building it and creating it. It really helped me to understand, as I researched more than I had already, and put it together. It's 6 modules, and really it starts off with programming. So I actually started with rewire, then stabilize, then empower. That might sound like I just said the same thing, but I didn't. Rewire is rewiring the brain, and neuroplasticity, rewire. Whatever you put in, the inputs, and you repeat, that's the output. So rewiring, understand that how powerful that is. That's why I got into it many years ago. Neuroplasticity is so powerful. It truly is. When you rewire with the programs that you want, the values that you want, you default to what you can do versus what you can't do, and what can be done versus what can't be done. When you default to that, you're more positive, your nervous system is stabilized. It's not positive thinking. It's optimism. It's natural. It becomes natural. And that's rewiring the brain. You can rewire the brain for that. And then the second module is Stabilize. And that literally really go into the vagus nerve and understand, not really go into it because this is 6 weeks. So it's not like a super deep dive, but it's enough. It's enough of a dive for you to understand the people. I did it live, and the people who have taken it, they have really made great strides just by understanding and becoming aware of these things. And then module 3 is the drama triangle and the stories that we tell ourselves and meaning making, because we make meanings out of things. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but it wraps up with, module 4 is really rewiring the brain and understanding the repetition. And module 5 is the inner authority and learning to trust yourself, like actually understanding that. And module 6 is just bringing it all together. And it's a very, very empowering course. And I'm very excited because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be accredited for mental health workers and therapists. Mental health counselors and therapists can really help their clients. My friend has her master's in mental health counseling. She's a mental health therapist, and she's sponsoring it because when we talked about it, she said, you need to get this accredited, because if I could get my patients to take your course, I'm going to have, because I only have an hour with them. And if they take your course, they're going to be so much further ahead so that they'll understand the concepts more easily, be able to work through things more easily. I'm so grateful that she invited me to submit it, offer to sponsor it, proudly offer to sponsor it. So it's a beautiful course, and I will put the link underneath. And I think that's it. So we're going to have a wonderful time together. I'm excited to bring all of this information that I've learned to you so that you can take the golden nuggets and use them for yourself. I give freely because it's so important to me to get this information to others. The more people that understand the power of stabilizing themselves first, to stabilizing that nervous system and understanding how to do it. And it's not hard to do. It's once you are aware and you understand it, you can do it. We were born with the ability to self-regulate. So once we decide that we want to find that internal stability to self-regulate, we're the only species on Earth that can self-regulate. And so not only is it an asset, it's an honor and a privilege to actually know that. So the more of us that are self-regulating, then all the external stuff that is happening in the world that is rocking our boats, you are the driver of your own boat. If the waves are coming in, think of the kayak and the boats that go by, the waves that are rocking me like crazy. It's like, I'm not steady here. Or just the way I felt with Steve, with my husband, like, don't feel steady. I don't feel like I get my foot on a solid piece of ground. And once you discover how to get your footing on that solid piece of ground, it's transforming, it's transformative. It's such a gift. It's so empowering. So that's why I just give and give from what I've learned, because my experience has taught me that I can do that and that you can too. And to understand that the only thing that we can count on here on planet Earth is change. How are we going to handle that change when it's change that affects us so personally, so deeply? And all of a sudden, what was once stable, the person that we depended on, they left or they died or whatever, they moved into, like my husband did for a while. He had some mini strokes, and it was like I didn't even know who he was for a while because I didn't know that had happened. It was almost like dementia. He was just this whole different person. But then he'd come back online, so then I'd have hope. So, but it could happen in so many ways. It could be your career or finances or anything at all. Even becoming an empty nester. It doesn't matter. Your job, you lose your job or you find another job and you move to a new city. Like change. That change can create pressure. So anyway, if that's you, just know that it doesn't take very long. You can retrain your nervous system. You can rewire your brain to help that to stay stable. And you can move, you can trust yourself. You can move into that inner authority and trust yourself again. Trust yourself to make good decisions for yourself once you stabilize. And we are going to talk about the vagus nerve. Yes, we are going to talk about the breath. We are going to, in that course, as soon as you breathe, your breath is your power. I always say repetition is your point of power. And then I say positive, because negative repetition doesn't matter. Your brain doesn't discern whether something's positive or negative. It just goes with what has been repeated the most, the strongest programs. And that's what it operates on. That's the path of least resistance, which is why you get triggered with something and you're just like, your action, or you get happy or whatever it is. That's the subconscious. So anyway, we will chat next week, and I appreciate you so immensely and appreciate you being here. Please share this podcast with others that it might help. Maybe you have a child or a sibling or a friend or another family member or somebody, a coworker that could hear this, know that life can be really beautiful and very steady and stable, and the era of stability is here. And you can find it, I promise you. And it's not that difficult to do. Okay, I love you so very, very, very mucho. You can do, be, change, have, create, become absolutely anything. You can do it. I believe in you. As always, shining my light to brighten yours, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to LynnieMotivates. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful in you. If it did, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you love or leave a quick review. It helps more women find their way back to inner stability. And we all deserve that, don't we? I'll be back next week with another episode to help you rewire the programs that have been holding you back and stopping you, and create the ones that move you forward. You can do, be, have, change, create, become absolutely anything. I believe in you. You can do this. As always, shining my light to brighten yours, and we'll catch you on the next episode.